I want to show you a game containing the battery which I played 4 years ago. White was around 2100, I was around 2000 that time. As you can see, the position on the board is something which usually arises from the Tarrasch variation of the French defense, and here it is black to move, and black moves queen to c7. Bishop goes back to b3. This was a first surprise because here you see, well, this bishop is hitting this e6 pawn, shouldn't be too good. Bishop d3 or queen e2 should be better here. And I was lucky to have checked this line before the game, so I knew this is rather harmless. Now the only question is, how do I exploit it? Because this was where I basically stopped my preparation. So bishop to d7, the idea is very clear. We want to play bishop to c6 in a later moment when knight takes c6 is not possible. And maybe castle, even queenside. And my opponent played queen to f3, a very strange looking move. And here we have the battery, bishop and queen hitting the h2 pawn. Somehow white must react, and white reacted in a very strange way. He played king h1, and of course I cannot take, because then g3 and the bishop is trapped, a la Fischer-Spassky, if you know the first game of that match. So therefore, knight to f6. Until today, I'm not so sure if knight f6 was so clever. Maybe knight e7 had been a little bit better, and here the black knight has better chances. So knight to f6, and now c3 played, and now I got suspicious because white is wasting so many moves for playing moves that shouldn't be played. For example, c3. Here, I believed just rook d1 or bishop g5, something developing should be played. But okay, c3 played, and now I took the chance and castled. My opponent played h3, and here I had a longer thought, because h3, this is weakening the king side. Well, I decided to go h6 with the idea of pushing g5 at a later point when my knight is not contested here. So rook to e1, and now a very typical preparation move, king to b8, just get the king into safety, queen to e2, and now I grabbed the chance. Before pushing my pawn to g5, I thought I get this pawn here to e4. I want the pawn to be on e4, so I have better attacking chances. This bishop will be already in the game. e4, knight f3, sorry, e5, knight f3, and now e4, knight to d4, and now we have basically the same position like two moves before, like here, but with the difference that the pawn is already on e4 and my pieces are much more active. So knight to d4, queen to c5, making sure that the queen can swing over, maybe here, maybe here. For now the bishop is covering this, but at some point this might be a threat. Now f4 was played. I believed that it was sort of a prophylactic move to control more squares and make sure that my queen cannot enter the position. At least this is what I thought. And the only problem is that this becomes a passed pawn. So of course I'm not going to take en passant. This is rather useless for me. So this is not going to happen. But I play g5. Why? Well, I want to attack the king, and taking here is really not so clever because of h takes. And of course this pawn cannot be taken. Or queen takes g5, and I thought black is winning, but to be honest I had just prepared bishop h3, which should end the game immediately, because here we just win a queen. So as you see, black has already multiple threats, but to illustrate the idea, bishop takes h3 is very dangerous here. So bishop takes f2 was played, and I took the invitation. I took on f4. Why? Well, I have two connected pawns on the fourth rank, very dangerous, and the king looks even weaker now. Rook to f1 played, Rook f8, attacking the bishop. And my opponent played queen to c4. And now it's not too difficult to convert this game. So pawn to e3. And what could have been played by white here was the exchange of queens. Then, for example, knight e6. And here I had just planned knight to e4. This should be completely winning. For example, knight takes, check. And here black takes on f1, and the material black is up will decide the game. So, for example, taking here with check, rook takes, and of course this move doesn't yield anything. Rook to d1, or simply this move. So literally everything is winning here. So let's go back. In the game, my opponent here played bishop takes e3, after which, of course, I first exchanged the queens and then took on e3. His plan was that if I take here, then this might be a weakness, but even this was not true, because the rook cannot really take due to queen takes c4, and now the bishop is pinned. So white was losing in literally every variation in this game. And after the exchange here and losing the piece on e3, white decided to call it a day and resigned. So how was the battery used here? Because we were talking about the battery. Well, with bishop d6, black built up this threat against h2. And white met this with the very creative king h1. As mentioned, you don't want to trap the bishop on h2. And later, white weakened the king's side, and this was the point where black just took over by some preparation moves and then taking over the initiative with e5, e4, and g5 here. And g5. So you see, the battery was just used to threaten a little bit on the king side. The advantages you develop with tempo, and king h1 is not a great move because it's not improving the king safety. Of course, it's protecting h2, which is necessary, but it's not so great for white. And this is just one example of how you can use the battery to get a more favorable position. If you like this idea, make sure to get the code from below and get or claim your discount. See you in the next video or in the course.